Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs. I'm here today to do two videos. The first is of this Korbanth LS6 Gullwing budget build Neopixel Teensysaber that I did for CJ. I thought I would take this opportunity to really dig into the LS6 and give you guys kind of an in-depth view of this hilt and why it's as awesome as it is. I'm really a huge fan of it for a lot of reasons, mainly because it's incredibly well designed. It's a total pleasure to work on. It's really well machined, great quality, just overall huge fan of this hilt. I think the best way to do that is to do a strip down. This is a completely finished, fully working, ready to rock Neopixel lightsaber. Just so you can see that. I don't think it'll take more than a couple minutes max to completely strip this thing down to its constituent parts and put it back together, which is really a massive compliment to the design, because that's saying a lot. So let's do it. Let's strip this thing down. CJ, hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, let me know, but here goes. So, this guy is great because it's really totally modular. There's three main sections. There's the top section, the pommel or bottom, and then the central emitter, and all three of them are on these twisty slides, as you can see here. They just slide and then they twist, then slide out and then twist to lock. And there are little C-groove chassis that they slide on, which means that A, you have access to the inside, and B, you can simply tighten that screw right there if you want it to stop twisting. So you tighten that guy up, tighten this guy up, which is the same thing but for the top half, and now you have a rock-solid lightsaber that doesn't move. So, if that's something that bothers you, or if you're dueling or whatever, it doesn't have to be slidey. Now, bottom section. I'll just give it a few untwists, and simple as that, it's off. Now, the bottom section is not just one piece either. The pommel does unscrew. So if you didn't want to take it off, you would still have access to, in this case, the recharge port. Speaker is down there. But that's how that works. That's your C-groove. Top section here. Well, before we get to that, let's do the emitter. The emitter works like such. You've got the blade all locked in. To undo that, you unscrew the top section of the emitter. Slide it up, slide it off. Now you're left with this guy, and there's one set screw for the blade and two on opposite sides. Now, a lot of people have complained to me that they have a wiggly blade, and that's because the two screws are on an axis, north to south, so the blade can go up and down this way. But if you tighten it tight enough, it doesn't move. As you can see, this guy is not wiggling. So that's the trick. Get a good tool that's got a good fit to your set screws. Make sure your set screws aren't stripped or anything, and just crank them down, relatively tightly. You don't have to go like until you're blue in the face, but just get them good and tight, and you won't have any problem. Now, this is a 7/8 blade, which is what I prefer to work with for a lot of reasons. Mostly because they look good and they feel good, and the weight is better. But this is a 1-inch blade holder. So to solve that, what I use is these metal adapter rings. I've got a set coming in from Dimitri Stock, Stock Custom Works. He did I commissioned just a run of 30 of them, so I should have plenty if anyone needs any. This is a standard Neopixel blade and blade connector. Same on the inside here. Now, Next up, this piece unscrews from here, this piece unscrews from here, and then this piece unscrews from here. So there's 4 pieces right there, and then this grenade section is your 5th piece. But let's just loosen her up and take it off, right? Boom. Now you say, but Ethan, you just ripped off the wires. No, there is a header pin connector right here for your power, your ground, and your data line that plugs into the back of this guy. So now we are looking at the core, right? Actually, before we get there, here's your top section, here's your connector, and as I said, that's really tight, is what it is. Let me get some tweezers. Here we go. So, looking at the Neopixel connector setup. And this guy is not attached, it's just an incredibly snug fit. But, as you can see, boom, pops right out. This is a custom saber shop blade Neopixel adapter holder, but it's perfect for this guy because, as you can see, it fits exactly right. There's no room for it to move around, plus it's plastic so it insulates, so you don't have to worry about any electrical contact being made with the metal hilt here. And then I just simple pin header setup right here, and what I like to do, as you can see, is color code. So there's a red, a blue, and a white pin, and even if I'm looking at them head on, I know which one is which because they're color coded. So I can tell that red goes to red, so on and so forth. Anyway, so that's that guy. Now we're looking at essentially the rest. This is your Graflex clamp. This is the Luke V2 clamp card, and it's standard slide-out clamp card. Best way I've found with this setup is a piece of really aggressive double-sided tape on the back to just give it a little extra hold to this double switch setup. This guy, once you loosen the clamp here, this is a standard Goth or maybe stock, I think it's a Goth though, dual button setup. And again, we're looking at a header pin connection, color coded for ease of use. But that way this just pops off, and then once that's off, you can slide your clamp card off. You've got trapdoors down here, bay doors so to speak, that give you access to the internal chassis setup. That is your battery protection circuit, just for safety's sake and to keep your battery from dying or overcharging. On the other side, you've got your connection pins for your switches, and then most importantly, right here, Teensysaber electronics with USB access and SD access right there. This is just a little decorative bit that I put in, but that's super easy access right there if you need to reprogram it or get the SD card out. Here you have your recharge port, and the speaker is right behind there, which means kill key goes right there, and that would be right behind the pommel, so you'd pull that off and then you'd be able to pull your kill key out like this. If I could get it. Tweezers. That's what they're there for. Now she's on, and you can tell because there is a nice little red LED inside there that glows to tell you. Not that you can see that, but there is. And that is literally it. That is a complete strip down. I do want to also give a shout out and my compliments to Goth 3 Designs for his chassis setup. This is just a base entry-level Paladin chassis, but it's really well done. I mean, fantastic. 18650 battery goes here. Sound card, electronics go here. You've got a side over here and a side over here in the chassis that you can work with, meaning you could put a battery protection circuit on one side, sound card on one side, or a crystal focus with a color extender, or a Bluetooth module with a Teensy. You get lots of room to work, lots of room to put stuff, and I could have put a lot more in here. This is not cramped in the slightest. And then the way this design's set up, you have two huge windows here to access your card and your USB, so just a really well thought out chassis. And then on the end, obviously the recharge port is where it should be, but also this is a really solid, you know, aggressive protective end cover. Like, when you look at that, you don't have to worry about anything breaking. This is not like flimsy or weak. It's a really solid design. I like it a lot. So that is literally the whole saber right there. Simple as you could possibly ask for. Now, we'll put it back together, which is literally just the same thing in reverse. Put the kill key back in just for safety's sake. Except you want it to work. Kill key's in. Pin headers connect for the switches. Slide your clamp up. And actually, this is another little trick that I figured out, which is helpful. This piece right here is not mandatory. These two screws, you can take this little cover off, and since it's underneath the Graflex clamp, you won't see it, and it also doesn't really, it's not real functional to the extent that it needs to be there, but the two screws, those serve a very useful purpose. This clamp does not have the teeth that a typical Graflex clamp has, so it'll spin side to side if you don't have something keeping it steady, and that'll drive you nuts if you're trying to use this thing. So you don't want this thing spinning side to side, so you can either put a screw through this into the body of the saber, which no one wants to do that, or you can just leave those screws right where they are, because this thing can't go anywhere because the screws catch it, and that is just perfect. Easy, simple, elegant solution. Now, to get the switch apparatus back in, just once it's in there and the axle of that screw goes through, you just push it in, set it in until it's all the way in. That's that. Clamp card back in here. I will use tweezers or a small screwdriver just to press on this little prong here when I slide this in so it doesn't catch that double-sided tape and rip it off. Now she's in, lock it down, and you have perfect clamp card action ready to go. We just work backwards once again here. Slide the clamp down a tiny bit. Try that again. Now, the other thing I didn't mention yet that I do want to mention is that the top and bottom section here that slide off have 3 ball bearings that are greased, lubricated, and on springs, so they bounce in and out. And what they do is when you put them on, they catch these 3 indentations, and you'll notice that because you can hear it. Hear those clicks. Also, you can see that this piece actually bounces a little when you drop it down. Alright, not a little, a lot. That is the spring-loaded action of those ball bearings. And that just goes to the overall build quality of this. It really is really well done. It fits great. Everything is just smooth as it should be. Smooth as silk, really. But you want to make sure that this is set in a groove and in the right groove before you tighten that screw, and you know you're in the right one if you lift it up and you see the C channel, because that's where you want it to screw into. So it's in there, it's all set. Caught the C channel, just tighten it down a bit. You don't even need to go that much, and that didn't work, so try it again. There we go, that worked. Now to test it, twist, See if it comes off. If it doesn't come off, and it does go follow the groove, then you know you're good. Pommel back on. And again, really well machined. That just spins on with one twist. Top section here, same idea as the bottom section. You can hear it catch the indentation. When it does, that's when you know it's in the right spot. And just give it a few twists until it works the way it's supposed to. What are we getting caught on here? Oh, here's one of the few downsides of this saber. And I haven't figured out a solution for it yet, but the two bay doors here, the gull wing doors, are on steel pins, which like to move around on their own. So sometimes they'll fall down or slide down, and then this guy won't go in because it hits the pin, but it's really a minor complaint, and I'm sure there's an obvious solution to that. I just haven't figured it out yet. But at any rate, there's that. Now the only remaining part is to deal with the header pin connector. So easy way to do that is to unscrew, unscrew the top section here. You want to do that without damaging anything, so I've got rubber coated pliers here. And that is the problem with wearing white cotton gloves for videos. You can't get a grip on anything. Okay. Now that we've got that off, a simple matter of slide this guy in, screw it down, making sure that these wires are coming out. Tighten it up. And give yourself enough slack that it can go pass through this section. Feed the connector up through this bad boy right here. Tweezers to grab it and pull it through. And once again, spin it and lock it on. And now it's a simple matter of connecting up the blade connector. Making sure you're matching up the pins, and once again the color code comes in handy there. Connect up your pin header connector, and then just twist as you push so that the wires spin up instead of jamming up until it slides in. That's it. That's a full strip down and rebuild on a perfectly working saber in, I don't know how long that took us, like 15 minutes, but could have been a lot faster. There we go. Pop the blade back in. Tighten up your two set screws with the appropriate Allen hex wrench. Like I said, nice and tight with this one. Typically, it's not the best idea to over-tighten a set screw because there's really no reason to, but for this saber, there is actually a good reason to over-tighten a set screw. Not over-tighten it, but to really actually tighten it. And that is to keep it from wiggling side to side, because that's just annoying. Finish screwing on the top of the emitter. Screw on your pommel cap. And now there's one more trick that you can do if you want. Not mandatory, but if you don't want this sliding up and down and the top section too, at this point I recommend locking these sections in by just a half twist of the Allen wrench on the C-track screw. Now she's locked in, she's not going anywhere, which means this saber is about 1,000 times more steady and solid. Not going anywhere. And there you have just a quick breakdown explanation. Hopefully that helps, guys. For those of you who are trying to do builds with these, But this is a great hilt. It's an awesome design. I hope more of the hilt guys that are out there building hilts follow the lead here that Korbanth has set and really try to up their game on the engineering of these hilts. Because I'll tell you, I started working on a Pock Store Ultimate Works Dooku the other day, and it's a beautiful hilt, but it's just a tube. It's a curved tube that looks nice on the outside. It is not a pleasure to work with. It does not have all sorts of cool potential and chassis options because it's just a tube. Like, really? This is so much superior to that kind of thing? Because there's 9 different types of crystal chambers you could design for this setup. Put a crystal here, put a crystal here, put a crystal here. Everything slides to give you access to the internals. Makes life easier if you need to access the SD card or the electronics. If you need to do repairs or upgrades, it's a no-brainer. This is way better. And the other thing about this guy is that this can be set up in two completely different setups right out of the box. You can do a V2 style with the clamp card and the Graflex clamp and this little knurled knob, and then this whole bottom section is different. Or you can take these guys off and opt for the activation box style Return of the Jedi setup. And those are just, those are just extras that Korbanth included because he could, and because he's smart, and he did a really nice job here. So now, I guess, quickly just run through the saber. This is the first font that you that you get when you fire it up. I'm going to reset it so I know we're starting from the beginning here. So auxiliary button is under the top section here, and then activation button is under the bottom section. It's not working for me right now, which means that I think the header isn't quite connected right. So we know how to deal with that. Loosen up and remove this bottom section. Great example right here of why this hilt is so awesome to work with. Because now, got it acting up and it's not working the way it should. And it should be a simple fix to troubleshoot it, figure it out. Ah, I see. There's a broken wire right underneath the bottom of that switch. Okay, well, to be continued, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll be right back.